Join me in my kitchen today for a bit of a midweek kitchen restock on a couple staples and an easy sheet pan dinner. It is almost December and we have decorations coming out for the holiday season. We've actually had our Christmas tree up for a couple weeks now at this point, which I'm sure will seem a little bit early to some of you, but we are ready to get into the spirit early this year. The past few years we have been doing real trees, but this year we just felt ready to decorate a little bit early, so we went ahead and set up our fake tree. I am very much so in cozy season crafting mode, and I have just been doing a lot of crocheting, just started on some crochet ornaments to add to the tree, and I have also been wanting to do up a new dried orange garland. If you haven't seen these before, they make for a really pretty piece of decor. They can be used as ornaments as an addition to gift wrapping. Today I'm starting out with dehydrating some orange slices for a new garland, along with a couple lemons that I had in the fridge to have dried and on hand. You can do this with any citrus you like. I've done it with blood orange, limes, and grapefruits as well. Now today I am doing this in my dehydrator, but you absolutely do not need a dehydrator to do this. It's something that you can do in the oven, and I've even heard of people dehydrating their orange slices in the air fryer. I haven't tried that before, but if you have, I'd love to hear how that's worked out. I do prefer the results using the dehydrator. I find that it's just a little bit more consistent, and that's what I do typically use when I know that I'll be doing a larger batch. But today's batch is quite a bit smaller, so I would be using the oven if I didn't already need it free today. My suggestion for doing it in the oven would be to place the citrus on a cooling rack on top of a baking sheet, which will just help them to dry out faster and a little bit more evenly. At 200, it's usually going to take at least 4 hours, just depending on how thick or thin you slice them. In the dehydrator, I like to do it at a much lower temperature, usually about 135, and because of that, it does take quite a bit longer, so that's the first thing that I'm getting started on today. Homemade crackers are something that I make pretty often. If you watch any of my weekly reset and kitchen restock videos, you have seen me share them before. And today I'm planning on doing up a double batch of sourdough crackers. And I wanted to do these ones with everything but the bagel seasoning. So I needed to restock on some of that first. This is super easy to make. You only need a few ingredients. And I realized that I was all out of poppy seeds, so this is going to be an almost everything but the bagel seasoning, but it still turned out really well. I'll have the recipe for you in the description box down below. I'm just getting this all prepared in a small glass jar, and this takes less than a minute to put together. Super simple. I'm using a mix of white and black sesame seeds. You can use either or, whatever you've got on hand. And I'm using coarse salt today, but I've also used flaky sea salt in the past. I really like that. And then the key is adding in some dehydrated minced onion and some dehydrated minced garlic. I'm just gonna shake that all up, and I've got a big batch of it ready to go. This cracker recipe is one that I go back to often. I'll have it below as well. The base is just sourdough starter. You can use fed or unfed, then some fat and some seasonings. I'm doing a double batch of these today, as I mentioned earlier, and I am just measuring out some butter to get that melting and then weighing out my sourdough starter. Now, typically I'll stir in some dried herbs as well, but I'm gonna keep the base of these plain. I'm just adding in some salt and that melted butter, and then the seasoning will just be added on top. Since I'm doing a double batch, I'm doing 2 trays today, and I'm spreading out about half the mixture super thin. I like to use an offset spatula just to make sure that it's nice and even, and then sprinkling plenty of that everything but the bagel seasoning over top, and these go into the oven. Now, those are just going to cook for a few minutes, then I'll remove them, slice them into crackers, and then continue to bake them until they are lightly golden and crisp. When those were almost done in the oven, I got started on some egg bites. I love having these on hand for a quick protein option. I'm doing a small batch of these today just to get me through the last half of this week. I wanted to do a spinach, sun-dried tomato, and feta egg bite. However, I'm always trying to use what we have on hand. So today that turned into kale, tomato, and feta. These are so customizable. You can do whatever flavor combination you like. I usually just go in with an egg per muffin cup and then season however I'm feeling that day. Our hens are finally laying consistently again, and I haven't been having to buy eggs from the store, which is great because I can't say that I love buying both feed for the chickens and eggs, so I'm just happy to be back in stock. I'm just seasoning these with some salt and pepper. For the tomato portion, I'm adding in some bruschetta in a jar. This is a bulk canning recipe that I like to do up each year, and this is a new favorite way to use it, so I'm definitely going to have to increase how much I do next year. I'm just draining off the liquid from those tomatoes as best I can. These have some white wine, herbs, some garlic, so much good flavor. This is my first time adding the bruschetta into the egg bites, and it is for sure a winner. I've got lots of kale from the garden that I either froze or dehydrated, so I'm using some of that in this batch. I'm using some frozen kale today, but when I do the dehydrated kale, I'll just put that in dry, and I find that the egg's rehydrated enough. I got these cast iron muffin pans maybe a year ago, and I will say that you do need to grease them really well for egg bites. If you think about it, with a regular cast iron pan, part of what makes it non-stick is having the pan nice and hot before you add eggs or whatever you're cooking onto it. But if you're baking in a cold muffin pan, like you are in this case, then the mixture is going in cold. So greasing it with a good amount of butter or lard really helps, and these came out clean. So those are going to take about 20 minutes in a 350-degree oven. I love a sheet pan dinner. It's just so easy. It doesn't require a whole lot of prep or hands-on time, and that is what I'm prepping for this evening's dinner. I'm keeping this really simple today, doing some potatoes, onion, and pork sausage, all grown or raised here. That's always really cool when we're able to do that. Now, I'm washing up some fingerling potatoes from the garden. I love these specifically for roasting, and I'm also chopping some red onion, and all of that is going to get added onto a baking sheet. The sausage I'm using today is an Italian sausage we had the butcher make up from this year's pigs. I'm slicing it, but if you want to save a step and make this even faster, you can just add them on whole. Last minute, I decided to add in some butternut squash. This is just frozen, store-bought, which makes it super easy. I have, for the most part, stopped for the time being growing most winter squash in the garden. My husband isn't the biggest fan of it, so we don't go through a ton of it. It also vines a lot, takes up quite a bit of space, so we've just been using that space to grow more of other things. Keeping the seasoning super simple with salt and pepper. In this case, there's going to be a lot of flavor coming from that sausage. I'm also not adding any sort of cooking fat to this. I find that the sausage has plenty of fat in it, and as it cooks, it's going to release some of that fat that the vegetables can then cook in. I'm going to pop that into the oven at 425 for probably about 20 to 25 minutes until everything is cooked through and golden, and this makes for a great, healthy, and simple dinner. Once all of my citrus was dehydrated, I went ahead and got those off of the dehydrator trays, some for the pantry, and some of these I'm going to use to make a garland for the kitchen. This makes for really pretty decor that will last for years to come, as long as they're fully dried out and you don't break them, which is what I have done in the past, which is why I needed to go ahead and make some more. I'm just using some twine and a needle to string these together. Again, you can make these into ornaments, or they make for a really pretty addition to gift wrapping. Thank you for joining me in the kitchen today. It was a bit of a hodgepodge of things going on here, but I was able to get the kitchen restocked a bit for the rest of the week, an easy dinner, and continuing to add some winter decor as we move into December. As always, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video.